start backwards tonight because I never get to finish. So I do want to invite you all out tomorrow night to Cholula Park, because Richard Mack will be here to speak for me, and he's going to talk about a lot of the things that are going on in the country concerning sheriff's departments and police departments. I don't know if all of you know who he is, but he's a pretty well-known sheriff around the country. And for more information, go to boltonforsheriff.com. Now I get to say that backwards. Well, it's a very different election this year. If you look around the country, people are not voting for the typical candidates this year, because a lot of people are frustrated with the economy. They're mad at, some people are mad at the Democrats, some people are mad at the Republicans, they're just mad at everybody. So because of the way things have been going. So, and that's even happening with sheriff's departments too. There's been sheriffs have been asked to resign, and they've been asked the question, when the federal government comes into your county, who are you going to stand for? Are you going to stand for the people, or are you going to let the federal government run all over the people? Well, a lot of sheriffs won't take that stand, but a lot of them don't know they have the power to take that stand. And the Supreme Court has ruled on that they do have that power. And that would be one of my first policies, is that all federal agencies coming into the county would have to check in with the sheriff's department first, and or possibly even the county commissioners, depending on the situation and circumstances. The economy is not going to get any better right away, folks. It's really not. We're going to have probably a couple more years of pretty hard times. So, we could stand here and talk about the budget all night. I don't think anybody has the perfect answer for it. And I would agree with Mike that you got to get in there to see what you've got to do. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. The one thing we do need right now is unity in our county, and we don't have a lot of unity in our county right now. We really need it. We need it bad. And but I'm not going to promise you that things that common sense says we can't do. A lot of candidates during elections will stand up and say all kinds of things to get elected. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tell you the truth. We can't have any more debt load. That will stifle our communities. We can't keep taking grants because they're going to dry up. I've been told that we're going to be short on grants here pretty soon, so that's something to think about. We're going to have to tighten our belts and work together and get some cooperation between all the entities in the county and do what needs to be done and don't do the things that don't need to be done. And people are going to have to become more self-sufficient in some ways. When you're over a department like that, you've got to tighten your belt and do the things that must be done to serve the people, not the things you'd like to do. As I said before, according to the Supreme Court, the duty of the sheriff is to protect you. 1 minute. Always happens. Is to protect you first, above and beyond everything. It's to protect your freedoms. Of course, the sheriff must enforce state law. And I always tell people, if you don't like the laws, talk to your legislators. The sheriff has to do his job. But he is to stand for the people and protect your liberties. And I would do that. And I will keep my oath of office. I want to tell you about my background. I was a Marine for 8 years, and I got 30 seconds. And I did a lot of work with naval intelligence and those kind of things. And I was cross-trained as a medic, and I worked with the Jesse and Helms administration for about 3 years after that. Was a Republican delegate for 3 years. And I've owned and operated a business for the last 16 years. And have a wife and 3 children, and I've been married for 20 years, very happily, so I don't have any skeletons in the closet, no drugs, no alcohol, none of those kind of problems.
We got 4 minutes now. Question and answers.
Yes, sir.
What is your experience with regard to being a law enforcement officer, sir?
I don't have any direct experience with law enforcement officers, except for I did do, during my 3 years as a Republican delegate, I did volunteer work and contract work for the Stokes County Sheriff's Department, where I was living in North Carolina, chasing escaped convicts and things like that. That'd be interesting. Sir?
Have you reviewed the Sheriff Department's budget?
I have not seen it.
But you're willing to fight, right?
Yes, ma'am. Whatever it takes.
I'm curious, and this is going to sound rude, but why would a man with so little law enforcement experience run for the sheriff of the county?
A sheriff is an elected official, and it does not require that kind of experience. But my training in the Marines, actually the training I received at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, is the same tactical combat training that police officers train for. In fact, they train police officers back east at the Camp Lejeune. They get the same exact training as far as entry and close quarters combat. They teach us how to apprehend and make arrests, because the missions that Marines are taking on today are, if you notice the news, are in the cities. Now they got to deal with people. I took sensitivity training. When you go into a combat zone today, it's not like World War II. We just go in and blow everything down. We don't do that anymore. We're actually trying to be nice. We go in and try to weed through the civilians and get to the bad guys, just to make it simple. And we have to do basically the same thing. We got to be careful. Sir?
I also was a Marine, thank you for your service, but I must have missed that block of training.
Well, they didn't start that until 1984.
I got taught a lot of things about apprehending, but it was usually at the end of the bayonet. I don't think we need that kind of enforcement here.
That's not what we were taught, sir. That training ended in 1984. They put on a whole new program in 1984. If you look at what they're doing overseas today in Iraq and Afghanistan, it is nothing like what happened prior to 1984. Not anything at all.
They're training you to be policemen now.
Yeah.
Basically, yes, sir. That's what they're doing. I'm not saying I always agree with that, but
Yeah, that's why they shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Amen.
I agree with that too. Sir?
One of the problems in the declining budget affects the morale, the unity, and the cohesiveness of any agency, especially downsizing law enforcement. Right?
Yes, sir.
What kind of skills will you bring to make sure that the deputies are united and behind you?
Well, I think that takes time. I don't think any time there's a change of command, and it's the same in the military, anytime you have a change of command, it takes a little time to form that, to draw that together. And it takes leadership, but you know, with every change of command, there's a different way of operating. Each person's going to have a little different leadership direction. They're not all going to be the same. It takes a little time. But I'm easy to get along with, let me put it that way. I'm easy to get along with. And I don't plan on going in there and making all kinds of changes just all of a sudden. And I'm going to use, I've got connections with other sheriffs, actual sheriffs that have been sheriffs for years, that are willing to make a lot of suggestions and help with that too. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Currently, we have a large problem with property crimes and vandalism in Bolton County. Generally, when you call for sheriff's assistance on that, they let the victim know that it's a civil crime, a civil matter, they need to go to court over it, refuse to investigate it. Is that how you would handle it, or did you change something?
No, sir. I actually have a case in my, I'm going to have to stop, a case file in my, an active one right now that was refused. And no, I would not try to. I would definitely try to have it investigated, if possible.